You're listening to It Takes a Village podcast with Liberty,
Megan,
and Brianna, where you don't have to be perfect, you just have to be you.
Welcome to our first episode. My name is Liberty Lyons.
I'm Megan West.
And I'm Brianna Radford.
It Takes a Village is a monthly podcast about the real experiences of women in the Gunnison Valley.
Motherhood, growth, community, and the messy, beautiful moments in between.
We're here to share stories, hold space, and remind each other that none of us are in this alone. With that, please enjoy episode 1 of It Takes a Village.
All right. Okay. Welcome to It Takes a Village. This is our first ever episode, and we're very excited. But before we get started, we want to share some tough mom moments or some happy mom moments or just a mom moment, because we all know what those are.
Sure do.
So, who wants to share first?
This week, I think I have a good moment to share, and then I guess it's just the immediate bad moment that I had at home on the way here. So my daughter, she's almost 3, Minna. She, as most almost 3-year-olds do, fell into something and bumped her nose pretty hard and was like running over to me crying like, mommy. And then we have this very large, fluffy white dog, Jazz, love him so much, ran right by her and then knocked her over again on the way over when she was running to me. So it was just very chaotic on my way over here. That was my moment of the day.
But you made it.
But I'm here. We're here. We're all here. And I think my fun, nice moment was we got to take her to the aquarium in Denver this weekend. And it was just, she just loves sea animals. It was probably my fault for making her room sea animal themed. And so she just has an affinity for that. But she loves jellyfish, I found out, like many times. So yeah, I don't know. It was just really sweet to watch her like share her knowledge. We brought my husband this time. I went with her, just me and her last time. And this time she just wanted to show him everything, all the sharks and all the, and there's a tiger there. Randomly.
There is a tiger.
I love how much she shares everything, though.
I know.
I mean, it's all she wants to do with the knowledge that she has.
It's great. Well, she did cry when we were leaving because she loved it so much. She was like genuinely upset. You know how you have those moments where your kid like just doesn't want to do something and you're like, okay, but we have to. But she was just like sad to her, like deep down into her little soul that she was leaving. And we were like, oh, should we just eat overpriced lunch here? And then
Dude, it works every time.
Denver Aquarium?
Yeah.
They do have a lovely little lunch area.
It's
If
beautiful.
you walk through it all the way to the back and you go through those double doors and it takes you outside in the patio and you go right, there's an indoor playground.
Oh, what?
Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You learned it here.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Sunshine and slides, actually. That's where I learned it.
Oh.
Instagram.
Cute.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Is that an Instagram handle?
It's an Instagram handle.
Does it tell you just about Colorado or?
Yeah, Colorado parks and activities and things to do with your kids.
Nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
There's so
You guys
many
should
good
follow it.
accounts.
Wait, what's the name of it again?
Sunshine and slides, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
You should check them out.
Have a lot of them. And we'll make sure to include anything in the show notes.
Yeah. We took Avery there. It was awesome. It's great. So,
All right,
check
I'll
it out.
share. My moment is tough. My moment is just pure tough. Yeah. My kid is 11 and just about to become a teenager and is leaking through. And tonight while we left, I don't know, there's something bugging him, but he doesn't want to talk about it. And I'm kind of riding that line of giving him space and privacy and not having to talk about it.
That's hard.
And so I just have to accept that that's okay. And he'll come to me when he needs me or feels comfortable. And yeah, so now he's at home. My husband is doing the best he can with it. And hopefully he'll talk to me when he feels like he can.
Sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs dad.
Maybe he needs
Maybe
dad.
that's what he needs.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Because you have a tough one because you have a boy.
I know. And it was a little bit of that vibe tonight. Like he didn't want to talk to me. And I just have to be okay with it.
That is a hard lesson that
Yeah.
we're all going to experience someday too.
Because when they're littles, you're just all up in their business and they tell you everything and they answer all of your questions.
If they don't want to, they'll say it to the stuffed animal and you can just listen.
Yes. But now he's becoming a full, human and he has the right to say he doesn't want to talk about it. So
He does.
I know.
No,
That makes
that's
me
hard.
scared.
I know.
All of us are like, what? I know.
Yeah.
Well, my moment, I do have more.
No, that
Shall I
was
go?
that was
Okay.
it.
My moment, well, you girls know, I had a fun week.
Nice.
I had a sick kid. And most of the time, okay, so my daughter is almost 4, hanging on to 3 for another 2 months.
Oh my God.
I'm hanging on because I don't want a 4-year-old.
Oh my
She's going to be
God.
lovely, and I know 4 is wonderful, but
4 is wonderful.
I'm just going to miss my toddler.
Yeah. 4 is great.
Yeah.
Pretty magical. Yeah.
Just going to miss my toddler. But
I know.
she was sick, and usually we're kind of in that period, like when she was little, where we were like, take her to the doctor and get her checked because we just don't know.
Yeah.
And now we're like, all right, we've done that enough times that we know. Just amoxicillin and later and Motrin and Tylenol until it's a real problem, and then we hit the amoxicillin. So anyway, we didn't do that this time. Well, we did until we were like, okay, the cough is bad.
Yeah.
And it sounded really bad. Mm-hmm. And I've had so many doctor visits where I've gone and everything's been like, wow, why did I even come here? But this time she had...
Right? And we keep telling you the same thing and send
like,
you home. You really leave with like, why did I even
know. This time, I'm really glad we took her because she had low oxygen levels and wheezing in the lungs and fluids in the lungs and a double layer infection starting and a really red throat and no RSV and no strep. So we're treating her for pneumonia. Yay! But we're on the tail end of it, which is great.
Yay!
So that's good. Yay!
She seems really energetic and her cute.
It just is
her little lights,
little exercise video. Yeah, but it's just that was kind of sucky. That sucked.
Yeah,
it wasn't fun.
When your kid is sick, it's such.
And then we had to postpone recording, and then you start getting paranoid that you're getting sick, and then everyone's paranoid, and
yeah.
So that was my week.
But you all got through it. You didn't get sick.
Yeah. And she's back to normal, and she's back to school. Yeah. And then today I took her out of the car, and it's just been. It was after you sent all those texts about how you feeling. Mm-hmm. And I just put her down in the snow, and I got down to her level, and I said, Avery, you're gonna bring sunshine to the world. And she looked up. I'm not even kidding. She looked up at the sky, and like, drew her palm in a rainbow shape and went whoosh. And then she kept doing it all over, and I was just like, see, you're already doing it.
She can like picture herself bringing sunshine to the world.
She can. Yeah. And that to me was like, I remember saying those things when she was little, and it just doesn't register. Mm-hmm. And now she understands the positive we give her, and that's really cool to see her.
That's amazing.
So.
It's true. It's really nice when they understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, wait, she just understood that.
You get to the point where you feel like they never will, and then all of a sudden they do. Mm-hmm. And it's something you've been saying to them for years, and all of a sudden it clicks, and you're like, oh.
And then
like I was talking
something bad.
And you're like, oh. What is it Minna says? Oh, gosh. Is it oh, gosh?
Oh, God.
But there was something else. There was something else she was saying when I was over babysitting her. So, you know.
Mm-hmm. She, like, puts it everywhere.
So, you know, it's so cute. So sometimes really appropriately where it does belong.
But also, she just puts it everywhere, so it's, like, 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Avery says, oh, goddamn. And it's pretty good.
Like well-timed.
Her favorite is like, oh, goddamn, mama. I do. It's so good.
That's hilarious.
I know, it's so great. Oh, that's so much fun. But, yeah. So
shall we move into
introductions? Who we are?
Let's talk a little bit about who we are and why we're here and why it matters.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm 35. Let's start with that. Because now, I'm going to be 36 soon. And over the hump. But no, I'm 35.
Just like,
Which hump? As I turn 40 this year.
The hump of like, man, I'm so close to 40 now.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I think we can all relate to that. Like, who are we kidding? We're all approaching.
Transition.
We're all getting older every day, right? Mm-hmm. So I am married. And I have an almost 4-year-old daughter. And I have a lot of passions and a lot of things that I like to do. But my worst trait, I would say, is that I put a lot of pressure on myself to be better all the time to everything I do. No, I didn't, because my name is Megan. I started with 35.
I am 35.
It's my identifier. No, my name is Megan West. And so I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself, which is not a great combination when you're a mom. It just adds to the stress, but
it's impossible not to.
Yeah.
It's impossible not to. Yeah. But And I work for Western Colorado University, which is a university here in Gunnison. And I am the director of alumni relations and advancement events. Basically what I do is I bring people together and I plan events and I get people engaged. My journey to Gunnison is kind of long. I'm actually from Switzerland. And then I went to high school in Vermont and then for 2.5 years. And then I found my way to Denver. And then I did one winter in Crested Butte. And like all things, I met my husband about a month into it. So here we are. I'm still here. We moved to Australia. We moved to the Front Range where I met Liberty. And then when we moved back, I met Brianna. And I've had the opportunity to work with both of them at different companies.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Which is pretty strange.
We both worked with
I know. They
totally
worked with everybody. So then on a whim, I never really wanted to be a mom growing up. Never wanted to be a mom even after I met Tyler. And it just changed. And all of a sudden, all I wanted to be was a mom. It's the best thing I've ever done. I will say one thing about motherhood. I feel like it's a big lesson in patience. And you have to have patience for yourself and your partner and your daughter and your pets and your house and your chores and your goals and your dreams and your village. Like, I literally have to have patience all the time, which is running short sometimes. And my why this podcast? Why does this matter? Because I've never felt as much pressure to parent better than my neighbor, which is ridiculous because it is something that I have never done before, that I don't feel like anyone knows how to do, but yet you have, the minute you pee on that stick, it's like, you got to do it right and you got to do it better. And it's like, okay, cool. How? And so I just wanted to do this podcast because I want to break those barriers and those expectations. And like my daughter does, bring sunshine to the world. So
Yes.
that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Liberty, let's meet you.
Okay. Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Liberty.
Yeah.
I'm 38. I'm turning 39 in April, so pretty soon here. Getting up on the upper end of the 30s. I'm in Gunnison. I have the privilege of working from home. I work for an education company and mostly do transformation program management, which is basically like if anything at the company is changing, I help manage all the different aspects of that happening successfully. So it can be really stressful, but there's a lot of flexibility in my schedule, which is a major part of what my childcare situation looks like and my mothering looks like. Like I just can't emphasize enough how much I'm grateful for that aspect of just like being able to be home and sometimes have some level of control over my schedule. And my husband does as well. He's the local locksmith. Lions Lock and Safe, if anybody needs any keys or any automotive keys. Keys and keys.
For real,
Locks.
though, he's a very helpful part of our village.
I know, yeah, for real. So he also has some flexibility in what he can schedule. And so we're able to kind of manage kind of a minimal amount of nanny time and stuff like that. So I'm very fortunate in my job, and I really like my job, and things are going well. Yay, where's wood? Is there wood in here?
I think it's one.
Hopefully. So my background is actually originally in linguistics. I grew up in Tucson, Arizona, went to the University of Arizona, and always just loved languages. I've loved music and language, and those two things have always kind of piqued my interest and kind of motivated me in some way to do something. So I studied linguistics in school and did German and Spanish specifically. And just to clarify, because everyone always asks a linguist, like, how many languages do you speak? That's not necessarily how it works. We like languages, therefore we probably learn a few of them to help in like any type of research that we're doing. But mainly linguistics is the study of the structure of language and all that different stuff. So I did get the opportunity to study abroad because of that and really kind of get my language skills up to now. They're bad. Don't try to talk to me in Spanish or German. They're not very good. But I did get the opportunity to live abroad in Germany and in Chile. And I was actually married to a Chilean man for a while. Seems like a different life and lifetime. It was. I actually made a major change and shift in my life in 2017 when I just decided things weren't working and we got divorced. And I had met Megan, as she mentioned, at a job that we both shared on the Front Range. And I actually went to your wedding in Crested Butte, and that was the first time that I'd ever been out here. And I was like, what? This beautiful, like, the hills are alive with the sound of music situation is right here, like only a couple of hours away. And so I was just like totally taken aback and in love with everything about the valley. And I just felt really drawn to the area. And so I ran away right after the divorce. I lived in Denver at the time. And I just said, hey, I'm going to come stay with you over the weekend in Gunnison. And it was magical and healing. And I just have like a really, because of that, I think process, have a really positive relationship with Gunnison and the Gunnison Valley. And so I kind of made it work with my job. At the time, I wasn't working full-time remote, but I moved out here and they let me do it temporarily until I eventually was able to make it work 100% of the time, right before COVID. So again, like very grateful for that. But yeah, so I made it out to Gunnison and here I am. And I met my husband on the apps. Super romantic. He moved
It is,
here.
though, that it worked all the way out and he is husband.
I know.
That
It's true.
is. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
You would be surprised how many people I've been to so many weddings. That's how they met. And there's nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all.
It's working.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't like,
You know?
it wasn't like Hinge. It was like Tinder, okay? So that's me.
Quality.
Yeah. Quality over quantity.
I think that is romantic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's kind of me and how I got here and why. So many reasons. Like, I feel like I was completely blindsided by how unprepared I felt for something that I perceived that I was really prepared for. Mm-hmm. Like, I got pregnant and I was like, I'm the type of person that like just immediately needs to glom onto any information that's available. So I will like over research and sometimes spiral because of that. We'll talk about that in later episodes. Mm-hmm. So I just like learned all about pregnancy, and looking back, it's kind of hilarious how much time I spent learning about my pregnancy. It's very important. Like, you want to know what's going on with your body.
I was fascinated.
But I was just like every month and every fruit size and like, what do I need to eat? And then I just totally threw that away because I was like, pancakes every day for the first trimester.
Someone actually once told me, though, if all you can hold down is pancakes, eat the hell out of pancakes.
I did.
Like, eat whatever you can keep down. Your body needs nutrients. Eat whatever it is you can keep down. Yeah. Just eat a ton of it.
Mine was peanut butter jelly and...
oh my God, was it?
And, ice cream. It's terrible.
Which is funny because she doesn't like peanut butter and jelly traditionally.
No.
You know, it's a very American snack, not her favorite. But she would show up to work with full bags of loaves of bread and peanut butter and jelly jars.
That's all I could eat.
Sorry, Liberty, continue on your way.
I'm just like, I started, my brain also hops around quite a bit. So pancakes, and then I was obsessed with the pregnancy part so much that I like very much I was like, I'm fine. Like, I'll figure out the part after, which is like the entire part, like the whole reason. And
it's so accurate.
I was like, when she's here, I'll just know what to do. Because you get this crap message of like, you have an innate nurturing side inside of you as a woman, and you'll just know what's right. And that is garbage. Mm-hmm. Like this. Yes. And I don't know. So I was just like very taken aback by both like how difficult it was and how everyone expected you to be fine within the complexity. And I was just like, nobody cares that this is so hard for me. Like, and then other moms, you see them, and depending, it runs the gamut. Like, there's people that seem like everything is perfect, and that's probably not true. Like, so I just struggled a lot in the beginning of like, with like, why is this so hard for me? Why does this feel so complex? Why is nobody asking? So, like, it just felt very disorienting. And so I made it, again, I had a reaction of like over researching. And so I'm like, we need to talk about this stuff more. And not necessarily, like, I wish I could impart every piece of knowledge that I have now onto somebody who's about to have a kid, but it just doesn't quite work that way. And I know any other moms listening or to-be moms, like, do all the research, ask all the questions. There's so much of this that you just learn as you go, and you have to be graceful with yourself. And so I just didn't know that. And I thought I could like research my way out of discomfort, and it just wasn't true. And I just hope to share some of my experience so people don't feel so alone and they're, not being able to parse all your feelings, and like your hormones are everywhere, and like everything with your body and your body image. There's just so many different aspects to talk about. And that's why I want to spend more time talking about them and why they're important, and like some of the detailed experiences that we've all experienced. Each one of ours is different. And so that's really what's driving me, is just to share our experience in hopes that someone feels less alone in theirs. And if we can share any resources that have helped us, of course, great, and along the way. And ultimately, we, with this podcast, want to walk away after we've done a series. We'll probably structure, those episodes in different kind of series or little chunks of 2 to 3 episodes that cover different topics. Everything from, the actual pregnancy itself, like I mentioned, to how to navigate, just like family dynamics in your household, or gender.
Small businesses.
I almost think every age has its own thing too, which is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, and the age differences, which is why we thought it would be great for us to get together, because you've got yours a little bit ahead of mine. I've got the little one, and then you're like,
I've
well
been
ahead.
there, done that. I am the guide.
Yeah.
You are the guide. And so it's just become so clear to me that the village is really what's holding me together mentally and sometimes physically. And so I don't know. I just feel like if you don't have a village, we want to help you build one. We want to build something stronger in our community that already has a really strong, awesome, great community of women. Women out here are amazing.
Yeah.
Strong, badass,
creative, incredible forces.
Yeah. But like, I feel like we could build something even greater. And this is a great time to try to build things for our community, especially in the climate that we're all living in right now, which is a little divisive. So,
one thing you mentioned was when you were going through it, feeling like other moms had it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard, because when you think that way, because I thought that way, I had to seem like I had it together. But then also, I didn't want to ask for help, because then it would show that I didn't have it together.
Yeah, and you're looking around at all these
like,
other moms, and you're like, is this as hard for everyone else?
I know.
Saying how you...
I was just saying, like, how hard it is when you feel like you can't ask another mom for help because they have it together. You should have it together.
It's not hard for them.
Shouldn't be hard for me.
And you find out no one has it together.
And it's hard for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even those moms who are like out there working out, doing it.
Have their hair done at drop off.
And they look amazing.
Yeah.
Guess what? I'm sure you had a hard time too.
Yeah.
You know?
It's not.
And it's so unfair for us to say, oh, well, you got it together, and just be kind of mad at them and then not be there for them.
And then be in competition with each other.
Because it sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're meant to be pitted in competition against each other. We're not meant to talk honestly about what's hard and say it's hard for us
And that's what we're taught. Yeah.
So,
like in society.
Yeah.
Like, women need to,
need to compete,
There's some
need to be
benefits
better.
too.
Yeah.
Now on to me.
Now on to Brianna. What's your name?
I'm 39. No. My name is Brianna Radford. I have been living in the Gunnison Valley for 11 years now, which is crazy. I feel like I can call myself, a local, not a native ever. I moved here from Los Angeles with my husband, the film score composer, when he lost his job. It was right after my son was born, so he was 3 months old. And I was in the middle of breastfeeding and all of the postpartum insanity. I had postpartum depression, and in the middle of it, Sam was fired. We could no longer afford our rent in Los Angeles. And my sister lives here in Gunnison. And it had always been like our plan B to move out here. Plan B. Go get you some.
Go buy some.
But I don't think any of us really thought it was a serious possibility until Sam lost his job. And then we had to enact plan B, and out we came. I also work remotely. I am a content creation specialist, so I do a lot of graphic design and video editing and stuff like that. I'm a content creation specialist for the Child Care Success Company, and I work remotely for that company. And then I also run my own marketing company here in the Gunnison Valley for local artists and small business owners. That's called Liftline Marketing Solutions. And actually,
It's amazing. She's amazing.
Thank you. When I moved out of Los Angeles, I had my village and I was building, like, honestly, a friends kind of vibe where I thought I was going to have people that just came into my home and we made meals and they were always over.
Yeah,
like,
it's a Gunnison.
I was starting to build that in Los Angeles. My cousin had just moved there. I had great friends. And then we ended up having to move as quickly as we did. And that just fell apart for me. And of course, they're all still friends, but it did it. I just lost that. And then this is the first time I'll be talking publicly on a published anything about this. I was raised in a cult and a really extremely highly controlling religion. And my husband and I left it together at the same time before we had our son. So honestly, to figure out how we were going to raise him based on science and truth. So we left together before, and that's a huge loss of community and a huge loss of my village.
Yeah.
And it was everything I knew about community. Like, you find your community at church. You find your community with people that believe the same things that you do, and just all of it was stripped away. So the church was my community in LA, and then I moved here fresh after having a baby. My milk supply dried up. I got the stomach flu immediately. Like, I felt so alone, and like we moved to the edge of the earth. Like, you had this beautiful, like, singing in the hills type moment about here.
Yeah,
I moved here in the middle of January. We moved to the end of town. We moved to where McDonald's is.
The lofts.
Yeah, no, to the Parkview apartments, college kid apartments. And it was literally like McDonald's and then nothing. It was just snow and more snow and more snow. And I was like, where the fuck did we move? It was petrifying. And I existed pretty alone in that bubble until Evan turned 4 and I joined the Gunnison Art Center. And I got to start working with Megan. Megan is an incredible reason that our village is the way that don't make that face, you are. That our village is what it is today. She has this incredible ability to put people together that she knows would probably get along or have things in common or could benefit from each other. And so she just did that with all of us. And we're all, like, as adults, our current village of girlfriends would have been fine just like trucking on without making human connection. We would have been like, nah, it's fine. I don't want to hang out. I don't want to make, like a bunch of hermits. And I remember feeling like that when our village began, and you were constantly like, let's get together. Let's have breakfast. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I would have completely not socialized at all, but you're insistent as hell.
No.
Like this woman,
Nothing
if
is
you
not persistent.
don't answer her text messages, we'll just call you.
I'm a boomer.
It's the worst. So I started, Megan ran the clay studio at the time, and she started meeting these ceramicists that were working in the clay studio and just started kind of bringing us together. And then Liberty had just moved here and we all started hanging out together.
Friendship.
Yeah. And we were all pretty thirsty, but pretty hermity. So
Thirsty hermits.
So, my village started to build through that community of art that I found and through Megan's persistence. So my why it's true. So my why for doing this podcast, that extraordinary loss of community, I honestly thought that that's just what my life was going to look like forever. Like, I had chosen to live outside of the community I was raised in. So that just was the punishment. And so to be gifted something, I thought I give it up because I'd made the choice that I had, is just extraordinary. So even if you think that your village is demolished or you're not going to be able to build one, there's no possible way. I mean, I'm someone that left a cult, left her entire village, and I'm a hermit. And I now have this incredible group of friends. And my village doesn't just include my friends. And I think that's important to talk about too. The village is the neighbors that are looking out for my kid that know he can't eat lactose, and so don't feed him those snacks. It's his educators and us working in tandem to make sure that he's doing the best that he can. I think what's really important to remember is that the village isn't just made up of your girlfriends. It's not just about pursuing relationships with friends. It's made up of your neighbors, your educators, the people that walk your kid back to the art center when he ended up somewhere random in town and missed the bus.
And then you ran after him like, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, who are you? The village it consists of so many integral people in my life here in Gunnison. And it's truly just extraordinary how we're looking out for each other and each other's kids. And it's an incredible gift, one that I didn't think I was going to get again.
Yeah.
And so I want to let people know that feel like it's just impossible, that feel completely isolated, that feel like they've removed themselves from what community they had, that you can find it again. And I'm nearing 40. You can find it again. But I really did. I just thought my chance that that was done and I would live a pretty solitary life and raise my kid kind of alone in our beliefs.
Yeah.
And then I found you guys.
I didn't have a village until I made it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I know everyone's like, hey, you're great at bringing people together. I changed my life changed so much with my childhood to moving to here from Switzerland and going to boarding school and being truly alone and being afraid of meeting people.
Yeah.
Because I was 15, living overseas, very far from home. And, my sister called me and said, you have to get out of your dorm room. I would go sit in the library and find a study booth and cry because I was afraid and I was alone.
It's like your Almond.
And I made it was my Almond.
I used to go cry in Almont when I first moved here. I worked in Crest Butte and commuted back to Gunnison, and I would
just stop
dive off in Almont to cry.
Who's done it? Oh my God.
Car cries, not necessarily Almond, but car cries.
You should try. It's beautiful and isolated.
And isolated.
Oh man, I just remember driving over Monarch, crying, listening to the Kesha album. That was the timing. The Rainbow album, I think. I can't remember. But just weeping because I was leaving everything behind. I didn't know what anything was gonna look like. It's really tough to be in those moments where you can't really see your future.
Yeah.
And so you just fill it in with crap and you're like, it could be bad. And then you ruminate on that. And so I was in that zone, and I just attached myself to you and the art center, and then
honestly
you
same.
and everyone else. I was just volunteer, go somewhere, do something. And it's obviously great. The outdoors are great here, but I think there's also, we can talk about this later too, but there's a little bit of guilt involved with not being constantly outdoors and constantly active, and there's such a competitive culture out here that I think is kind of unspoken mostly.
Yeah, there's a stigma around rest.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just glad we're here now.
I just remember when my sister she sent me a box with a moose, stuffed animal moose and candy from Switzerland, and she's like, get out and meet people. And I've never forgotten that lesson. And then when I met Tyler, my entire village was his friends. I had no friends up here that were mine, truly mine. And so when we left after Dad passed to go help Mom, I just remember meeting you and starting to make our own village. And it was a village that Tyler and I built together instead of me fitting into his life. Yeah. And so when we moved back here, I told myself, not again. You're going to make your own village. You have to make your own friends. You have to find your own people. And Tyler has his and I have mine, and we have ours together as well. But our circle cannot just stay small, and I can't just fit in somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's why I was crazy.
You were insistent.
I was, but I made it happen.
Word.
Let's go get margaritas. Let's go get coffee. Let's get brunch.
It worked.
So many brunches at
It worked.
Backcountry if you're listening.
Yeah, Backcountry.
Sorry.
Heyo, sponsorship opportunity.
I know.
Though they put that no camping sign in because of us.
Yeah, probably.
Our favorite breakfast spot.
Possibility.
Our favorite breakfast spot in town backcountry cafe because we can get our mimosas and just chill there. Well, we could just chill there. We apparently took up camping.
They're pretty flex with us.
They are pretty flex, but still. So they put up this neon sign, one of those neon signs.
No camping, please.
It says no camping, please, and they'll flick it on if you've been there for too long. It's definitely happened to me before.
It's the most beautiful passive-aggressive sign I've ever seen.
I know.
It's my favorite.
It works, though.
Yes. All right. Well, now that you know a little bit about us and who we are, we thought it would be very important to tell you about the podcast, though, because that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
So we just want to share our mission and maybe go through some of the subjects that we're going to cover, kind of talk about how we're going to approach this before we leave you. All right. Well, I was just going to read our mission because I just really like it. So we created this podcast to empower women from all walks of life. Whether you're on your path to motherhood, already parenting, or you're choosing to have a life without children, our goal is to build a space where our listeners feel genuinely connected, finding love and acceptance through shared experiences as women. Because, we need more of that. And by honoring our unique perspectives and offering valuable resources, we aim to support each listener on your personal journey through womanhood and the choices you make. And along the way, we hope that you discover that you are not alone and that together we truly are a village.
So one thing that jumped out at me is yes, all of that. I mean, I think this work is really, really important. And it's not necessarily exclusionary to men, but I think this is about centering women and women's experiences. And if you're a dad listening and want to learn more about our experience, of course, yeah. And we want to probably hear from you. We'll be most likely, and I'll get into the details of the episodes here in a second, but one of the areas we wanted to look at was fatherhood and interviewing potentially our husbands or, anyone who wants to volunteer for talking about their experience with fatherhood. And so I just wanted to point that out because I think none of what we're trying to do is exclude. It's all about inclusion, community, sharing experiences, making sure people don't feel alone.
It's really hard for men too, It's hard. And I actually had a discussion with your husband about this today. Surprise. We were texting back and forth, yeah. We're all friends here.
We are all friends here.
But he did say, he's like, we don't have a village. Like, you guys have a village. And it's true. Men just are kind of shunned into not building a village after they have kids. They have this responsibility and this weight that we have to provide. And it's like, okay, yeah, but who's supporting you? Because as wives and women and moms, we can't always do that. And it's really unfair.
Yeah.
And I think this should be open to everybody. So
yeah. We hope that everyone has something to learn.
So let's say not just women from all walks of life, but people from all walks of life.
Whoever's seeking community, really.
Yeah.
Because that's what's that's what's so lost.
That's going to benefit men too. I mean, even if we do center mostly female experiences, that's what our experiences are. It's going to benefit them in the long run. And I think that's what we're trying to say is everything's connected and we find ways of supporting each other and that can be valuable for everybody. So, yeah.
So everybody needs community. I think that there's a lot of suffering specifically in our country right now with lack of third spaces, lack of vulnerability and honesty. There's so much polarization that it can be really, really hard to be vulnerable right now and open yourself up with what you're struggling with. Because you could fall on two very different sides of a person. And so I feel like that genuine desire to connect is getting more fearful in our country, getting more impossible. And so forming community, especially since we all divided the way that we did in 2020 and we work remotely, all of these factors are driving us all away from each other and kind of instigating that hermit feeling that we talked about earlier, where you're aware that you need it, but you're just so insular. You're so inside of your own world. You're so convinced that you're the only one struggling with what you're struggling with. And there aren't a lot of spaces to go talk about it. And so I know that that's what we want to create here, not just in this podcast, not just while we're creating this, but even afterwards. Liberty had talked about wanting to create turn this podcast into some sort of resource that could be helpful to communities all over the states. Some sort of a model that people could start using, or spaces that people could start meeting, where we can start to recreate that community that's just been torn down in our culture, and so egregiously in the past 5 years.
Yeah, it's terrible.
There's such a desperate need for it, and it's the time we all became mothers and formed our village, and I don't know where we would be today
No, and we have
if we
so
were
many
still
friends. I mean,
solitary and alone.
we're fortunate we have each other, but some of us have very extensive villages, and some of us don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know.
Villages take different shapes.
they do.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, I'm
Ours
from
are different.
Switzerland, but I have my mom here, and my sister here, and her wife here, and then my other sister in Steamboat.
I mean, you had a kid and everyone came.
Everybody came.
Yeah.
Right. I have that amazing support. And that makes my experience so different. And I think when it comes to mental health, having that really helps.
Yeah.
You know? And for those who don't have that, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I don't have any immediate family in Gunnison. Neither does my husband. So we're, hours away on a flight from both of our families, and there are various levels of involved for different reasons. And so it's just definitely more complex, not impossible. But like, I've also kind of adopted yours.
I,
Honestly, same.
Like,
they're for hire.
They are wonderful.
Yeah.
we do things together, and like, you've had us for different, holidays, functions. Like, your house is really a nucleus of different
It really is.
events. And so it's like, you just kind of cobble together what you can. And between our friend group and your family, like, that's what my village is. And even though some of my village is far away, when I can, go to see them, like, I do have very strong support systems outside of my immediate family that I am forever grateful for.
I
And
love that with the
wonderful
in-laws
friends.
too.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, it can look so different for everyone. And I think that's
Really
part
can.
of why we want to just talk through it. Because, being here alone, I know there are a number of moms that I've talked to who are like, yeah, my family's not really here. And it can be,
Yeah.
if you don't have a Megan and you don't have a Brie, it's like,
I think it happens a
Can
lot
be
up here,
really
though,
tough.
Well,
Well, I think people
it
come here
happens
chasing
because-
dreams, right?
yeah, and you live in the mountains, and
Yeah.
you want to live far away.
And so
you
idyllic, and
You are far away.
But not everybody's grandma's going to move here.
Yeah.
Right? It's negative 30 degrees sometimes. Like,
I have this wonderful, amazing neighbor who was a coworker of Megan and I's. Her name is Carolina.
love her.
And she is my immediate neighbor, and we share a wall. And being able to be in community with her and spend time with her and her family has also been truly incredible.
yeah, and they're
Huge.
from Poland.
Yeah.
In her villages.
Her mom has the funniest thing to say. So her mom tells her that that Carolina has to come visit her because Carolina lives at the end of the earth.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, how
That's not
accurate.
how the world works, but okay.
But it's so
It's a
difficult to get here, and it can be completely isolating.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people do. They move here
It's expensive
chasing
to get here, too.
Yeah, and they move here chasing the beauty and the dream, or they had a vacation here and it was amazing. And we were talking about like, you have to remind yourself of the beauty
Yeah,
and
that's
how
neat.
incredible it is here. Because also here we lose our car keys and we have to pay our mortgage and our groceries are expensive.
Yeah, and
you know,
you
like
have
real life
Fights
hits
with
us
your
here
husband
too.
And
yeah,
like, there are things, like, it just starts to lose the magic.
the idyllic. Yeah.
And it's negative
it's so
30
bad.
degrees.
And it's negative 30 degrees.
Yeah, this winter has been particularly brutal.
Oh, and it makes you want to move.
Yeah, but literally, I thought about moving, and I was like, there's a really strong root that's holding me here. And
Yeah.
it is you guys. It's like my
And I think we've all come to those moments too where things have gotten really
if I
difficult.
left, it would be gone and no.
Yeah. I think
I just-
it's come like to different points for different reasons for each of us, but we've all come to moments where we thought, am I going to have to leave
Yeah.
this beautiful place?
Mm-hmm.
And you really just realize how valuable what it is we've got and how rare it can be in other places. So when we consider moving out of this place, it's not just losing the beauty or the outdoor sports
Yeah.
or the access to everything that we have. It's, for us, the stakes are higher now. And I am positive, at least for me, it's kept me here In moments where it would have been a lot easier for me just to leave, but I can't leave and rebuild.
Right.
Like what we've gained here is so incredibly valuable beyond how cool it is to live here.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, we've all reached those points where it's like, okay, I feel like I need to break away, or my family needs to change. We need to move. But there's so much more to lose now. And I think that's something pretty beautiful. Shall we talk about our topics we plan to cover?
Yeah. So basically, I kind of mentioned it earlier, but we're going to, I think, start chronologically with just like, what does this experience of becoming a mom feel like? So if you are somebody who's thinking about becoming one, or are currently pregnant, or just had one, that might help you just kind of, I think it'll help all of us kind of center around like how the experience starts and how you maybe start from one end of the spectrum and end somewhere else. So I think it makes the most sense for us to do it chronologically. So we'll kind of start with, what is, I don't know, matrescence is really just a word that refers to the process of becoming a mother and what happens to you personally, mentally, physically, all the things. So it's a major transformation in your life. So what does that paradigm shift look like? So we'll dig into that in more detail, and more detail around why a village during that process is so important and key to your really being successful and moving forward and learning. And then we'll jump into what is called the fourth trimester. So basically right after you have the baby, and all the different things that you're trying to think about during that time frame. Like I remember I was late to the game signing Minna up for childcare because I could not possibly fit another thing in my brain outside of like just trying to figure out breastfeeding and keeping this little lump alive that I made. And so it was really overwhelming, and I like didn't sign her up on a wait list for childcare, and that was an issue. So like there's different things that happen, and also we'll talk through different things like, all the frustratingly false dichotomies that exist within the process of becoming a mother. So should you breastfeed? Should you use formula? Should you sleep train? Should you not sleep train? Should you, there's just so many different things that you feel are black and white, and we'll dive into why they're not so black and white, and really just kind of put a lens of our experiences on those things. Then we already started talking about it, like living in a rural area versus a city. Like, are there some benefits to that? Probably. We've been able to form a really strong community, and moving away from that might be really difficult to put back together in a place that looks different or is bigger, is a little bit more, a city versus a rural area. And so we'll talk about our experience with that, and some drawbacks of smaller areas, like, there is a lack of diversity here. So how do we fill those gaps? So there's lots of different...
There's a lack of childcare options.
And the childcare options. That was a really major stressor for me. So we'll talk through some of that as well. And we'll try to, structure it in a way that will release chunks of episodes together that are related, so that you guys can really hear the whole conversation that we pull together around those things. Family dynamics, as I mentioned before. So like marital, like your relationship, how it changes, how it disappears, frankly, as a priority, as you're going through this process of becoming a mother or a parent.
The upside down.
And like breaking cycles.
It is.
And all that stuff. I know a lot of us are cycle breakers in terms of like how we handle raising our child, and like what we were exposed to as children versus what our children are exposed to now. So there's a lot to unpack there. Mental load. You talked about your mom moving here and like how that feels. It's really good, but it's also really challenging. So there's a lot to unpack around family dynamics. We also wanted to talk about mental health. That's a cornerstone of this whole entire process, is like, what are you feeling? What are you going through? What are you thinking? Why do you think that? Like, just all the different challenges of such a major change. And then not only just our minds, but, our bodies. And I think, there's so many topics we have listed under these sections. So I'm excited to see where it goes. But we want to really touch on things like, IVF. We have friends that have gone through that, different ways that you can even go through the process. Surrogacy, miscarriages, all these kind of taboo topics are things that are less taboo.
Extremely difficult topics too sometimes.
Endometriosis.
Yeah.
Endo. And also, while listening to all this, don't think you're only going to hear from us. We will have
we
some
will
guests
interview.
on here. We will get some different perspectives and different opinions and professional opinions as well, because that matters.
Just a
Science
reminder.
matters.
Just a reminder.
Science matters.
None of us are professionals. We're just sharing our experiences.
No.
And we'll remind you of that every episode for legal reason.
Yes. Do not just take us word for word.
Yeah.
But on that note too, I want to make a note that it's going to be a lot of experiential. This sounds like it's going to be resource heavy, maybe tough to sit through. It's going to be a lot of experience. It's going to be sharing a lot of stories, talking about other people's experiences, our shared experiences, our different experiences.
Your experiences.
Yeah, it's going to be very anecdotal and very personal, because we don't want to be setting up a you should be doing this versus this. We all want to share our different perspectives, where we come together, where we differ, why that matters, and how that's okay and important in your community and in your village.
100%. And then, things like traveling and, you talked about your son growing up and all the challenges of the outside world. And what does it mean that you have an 11-year-old that doesn't want to talk to you anymore?
What does it mean to find who you are again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rebuild yourself.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Ugh. I feel like I'm constantly reconstructing who I am every phase that she goes through. That's the whole thing. Like your financial situation, we can talk about that as well. Media is a major thing, like social media and screens and all the things that are coming
How
at you.
it's made us all feel less than.
From every angle. So, and I also mentioned father figures and I'm talking about the experience of parenting from a male perspective. And so there's just so much to unpack. And I think that's why we wanted to do this podcast, because I think I've talked my friends' ears off about all of this. And I was like, you know what? Some people are alone. Some people don't have these communities. And we just want to make sure that we can share that. I would have loved a podcast to listen to somebody like local that was going through something and know that I could reach out to them. So hopefully...
Instead of a podcast that tells you what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of a podcast like 3 tips to become, I don't know.
They just adds to
3
the
things
pressure.
you need to do to make sure your baby sleeps through the night after day 1.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
No, we're not adding to that noise.
No. And then, future topics can be future topics based. I think we're going to take this as an iterative process. If we decide to do more seasons, or if we build on our community and we keep the podcast around after that, there's so many ways that this could take shape. So we are learning as we go, and we want to hear from you guys as well. And we'll provide some information in later episodes about where you can share your own experiences.
Share
if
your
you're interested in coming on the show and what you have to offer.
If your stories are funny, we want to hear them too.
Yeah. Good stories, bad stories.
We need some good in the world. Lighthearted, funny stuff.
So we'll have a Google form. You are more than welcome to send in your stories, what you'd like us to maybe talk about. And we will have options to make it anonymous. So you can let us know if you want us to mention your name, or if you don't mention it at all, you can submit anonymously and we won't mention your name, but we'll bring up the topic that you want to hear.
Yes. Let's bring some sunshine to the world.
Oh my God, it's our whole new thing now because of Avery.
I know, thanks, Avery. So,
Yes.
All right, you guys, I want to thank you guys so much for spending some time with us in our small little corner of the Gunnison Valley. I want to remind you that you can fill out that Google form and send us anything you'd like us to cover, any kind of story you'd like to share. Together, we make this community stronger, and we make it stronger one conversation at a time. And so we want to welcome you into that conversation with us. And I want you guys to remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be you. All right, you guys. So give us a follow on Instagram. It's ITA Village Pod. It takes a village pod. So give us a follow there. And reach out via forms if you want to share.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Woohoo.